All right, folks, good evening, WNBA and women's basketball fans, and welcome in to the WNBA 365 Network, your 24/7 365 comprehensive home for everything revolving around the WNBA and the rest of the women's basketball universe. Joining you folks here on Title Tuesday. This is WNBAU for the final time this season for the National Championship Game Central here for April 5th, 2016. Joined right now on the Hangout by Crystal Thomas up in Los Angeles. And right now, folks, joining us live from outside Bankers Life Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana, is Eric Nimchok joining us, and hopefully Eric can hear us. Obviously, the Wi-Fi and perhaps phone reception is probably not its best right now. But Crystal and Eric, good evening, guys. How's it going? Good to see you.
Hi.
Hey guys, bit of a disclaimer. I'm actually not outside of Bankers Life Fieldhouse. I'm outside of a Steak and Shake in the middle of nowhere on I-65. But I'm technically still in Indiana, so that's close enough.
It is close enough, Eric, and we give you all the we give you all the brownie points, man, of pulling over on the road to join the show for a little bit tonight on your way back home to the Illinois area, man. But of course, Eric, thank you so much for stopping by and joining us. Of course, after such a great game. Of course, guys, you guys can get involved with us on Twitter tonight at WNBA365, at CalamaC3, at Pup1010, or at Nemchocky with the hashtag WNBAU. And we'll get to all your commentary during the course of our get-together this evening. All right, Crystal and Eric, obviously, the big talking point of tonight's show, of course, is the 2016 NCAA Women's Basketball Championship game, where the UConn Huskies were going for their 4th straight championship and 11th in school history, while Syracuse made their first ever appearance in the title game this evening. And UConn will not be denied as they win tonight 82-51 for their 75th straight victory. Final line score in this ball game, thanks to the wonders of the technology and the iPad in front of me here. UConn 28, 22, 14, and 18 across the 4 quarters. For Syracuse, 13, 10, 20, and 8 in the 4th quarter. Big story of the day, of course, guys, is the graduating 3 seniors from the UConn side of the story. Of course, Brianna Stewart tonight, 24 points, 10 and 6 for her this evening. Also tonight, Morgan Tuck, 19 points. Mariah Jefferson, 13 points. Kia Nurse and Gabby Williams, also 9 points, pacing the UConn offense this evening. Crystal, obviously, we knew it would probably be a lopsided affair, but I will say, though, guys, real quick, I give major props, major upside, and all the credit in the world, guys, to Syracuse for not giving up, going on that long 16-0 run before, during the early part of the 3rd quarter. Crystal, obviously we knew that UConn would probably run away with this game, but, I think Syracuse, though, gets a lot of credit, though, for, fighting back when the score was was already out of control. But again, though, this wasn't a team that rolled over and already fell in the grave and said, bury me till I confess, basically. But I guess, Crystal, your overall thoughts, KT, on tonight's game, though.
I think it went how everybody thought it was going to. I thought Syracuse would be a little bit closer, but I knew UConn would win. But, I think it pretty much went how everybody thought it would.
And also, folks, we'll now say hi to our other correspondent up in Los Angeles, Tanisha Stewart, joining us. And Tanisha, of course, glad to have you along as well. But again, Shorty, again, we kind of knew that perhaps, UConn would probably take, this game by a margin. But again, I think, though, what was underrated or under the radar was how Syracuse kept battling. They didn't, roll over like most teams would roll over in that predicament with that score being out of control. And again, this was only the 3rd time, guys, in the entire tournament that UConn, did not win a quarter. They were outscored in a quarter. They, again, were outscored 20-14 in the 3rd quarter. Only the 3rd time someone did that to the Huskies all tournament run this year. But again, Shorty, your final thoughts, though, on tonight's game. Go ahead and go for it.
It went the way that, I predicted yesterday. Props to Syracuse for at least trying to pull somewhat of a comeback, but it didn't really matter at this point. The closest I think they've gotten was to, 17 points. They cut the deficit to 17. If that is a big accomplishment, then I guess good for them for fighting back, but pretty much it was done in the 1st quarter, UConn, had a great start. They start off 7-zip, 7-0, and basically UConn basically beat Syracuse at their own game. Uh, if you watch, the last game between Syracuse and Washington, what was Syracuse doing? Trapping Washington in the back court, putting pressure on the ball. What happened? UConn saw that and run the same table on Syracuse. So when Syracuse was being beat at their own game, they really didn't know how to respond at all. I mean, shots wasn't falling for, the normal players that was hitting, in the tournament, like Alexis Peterson, Brianna Butler, even, her threes wouldn't even falling as normal. And basically it was just too much of UConn, and they basically took over. Like I said, even though Syracuse eventually trimmed the deficit to 17, it really didn't matter at this point. It was just UConn all the way into final buzzer.
All right, so Eric, you were at the game, and we know that you kind of, are somewhere in the middle of nowhere, as you said, on the 60 heading back home or on the freeway going home. But Eric, with you being there, though, and seeing the game tonight, obviously, electric atmosphere from what I saw and watched the whole game on ESPN while doing the Twitter play-by-play and commentary for the game on the network Twitter handle this evening. But Eric, of course, seeing this game tonight, and like Shorty said, though, UConn pretty much beat Syracuse at their own game tonight. But Eric, with you being there live, what did you see differently, perhaps, in the game plans between UConn and Syracuse?
Well, Syracuse, we'll give them credit. They fought to the end, playing their game. Quentin Hillsman with his famed 2-3 zone defense. They were playing it. They kept trying to trap UConn. They kept trying to press them in the backcourt, although for UConn, it's pretty difficult to do that against them because obviously their guards are so great, and Gino makes terrific adjustments. When you saw Syracuse versus Washington, it was usually just Kelsey Plum alone in the backcourt trying to bring the ball up against 2 or 3 different defenders at a time. UConn, they brought different looks against the press, and they broke it fairly easily. And obviously the zone, it doesn't exactly work when you have Brianna Stewart at the 4 and Morgan Tuck at the 5 because they'll just spread you out and find the open shooter every single time. So, and also another thing I think is UConn's defense. They knew Syracuse looks for the 3. Quentin Hillsman, he said, we like to make at least 10 3-pointers a game. Doesn't matter how many attempts it takes to get us there. I think Gino took that into consideration because the 3-point shot was pretty much not there all day for Syracuse. A lot of those attempts were forced. I don't have the final stats in front of me, but I think that Syracuse shot like under 10% from 3 or something like that. So when you take Syracuse, and the rebounding was also heavily in UConn's favor. So when you heard, I think Doris Burke, she was calling the game Syracuse versus Washington. She said, yeah, the 3 keys to Syracuse's success are 3-point shooting, turnovers forced, and offensive rebounds. And UConn shut down pretty much all of those areas. So, I think that there's a little bit of a pipe dream to think that Syracuse would continue this sort of success against a team as well coached and as talented as Connecticut. But, they just got flat out owned in all 3 of those areas. So all the credit in the world to Gino. He had his team fully prepared for what Syracuse likes to do. And they came out hot, and they didn't look back.
By the way, folks, in case you're wondering, the final box score will go with the box score now for both teams. For Syracuse tonight, 22 of 62 shooting from the field, 35.5%. And Eric, as you alluded to, man, Syracuse 2 for 19 from beyond the arc, 10.5% three-point shooting for the Orange tonight. 5 of 10, 50% from the free throw line, 27 rebounds, 6 assists, 7 steals, 2 blocks, 12 turnovers, 19 personal fouls for 51 points. For Syracuse, for the UConn Huskies this evening, 20 to 54 from the field, 51.9%, 6 for 19 from beyond the arc, 31.6%, and made 20 of their 23 free throws for 87% shooting. They had 43 rebounds, 22 assists, 5 steals, 4 blocks, 17 turnovers, 10 personal fouls, and, of course, the 82 points. Shorty, obviously we're going to get to the, soon-to-be perhaps top 3 picks of the 2016 WNBA draft next Thursday night, of course, Brianna Stewart, Morgan Tuck, and Mariah Jefferson, of course. All those players capturing 4 straight championships. That has not happened, I don't think, in any facet of basketball in the course as well today. Gino Auriemma passing the legendary UCLA Bruins head coach John Wooden for most championships won men's or women's basketball with 11 national titles now for Gino. Shorty, obviously we've heard a lot of the discussion in the days and weeks leading up to the game tonight, of course, about, where does Brianna Stewart rank amongst UConn greatness, or where does this Big Three rank amongst, UConn greatness as well. Shorty, I'd probably ask, though, just to kind of get this question out of the way, where does this senior class rank for UConn, perhaps, amongst a lot of the, other immortals and legends that are up in the rafters at Gamble Pavilion in your mind?
I mean, that is an interesting question because that's the thing with UConn. They've been so great, throughout the years. It's really hard. And I mean, even to match up with this current group, I mean, 4 national titles. That is a crazy feat to handle. But, you just look at the past teams. Look at the teams with Taurasi, Bird, Swing Cash, and then you go all the way back to Rebecca Lobo's days. So it's definitely kind of hard. And then you got, Maya Moore, Tina Charles, Renee Montgomery, that group. So it's definitely interesting. I think I would agree with some of the ESPN analysts, especially Doris Burke, when saying, even though this class is good and Brianna Stewart, definitely going to be up there as far as UConn great. I would still have Diana Taurasi, as number 1 overall because, what she did for the program, I mean, and then what she translated to, not only just for that program, but into the WNBA as well, 3 titles, with the Phoenix Mercury. So that's my opinion on that subject matter.
Crystal, it can be a little intimidating when you walk into Gamble Pavilion, either as a visiting player, or in my case, when you go back and visit UConn after being away from it from 11 years, and you can kind of get a little mesmerized when you walk in and you look, on the eastern wall that has all of the UConn women's basketball retired numbers and all the years that they won the national title or won the conference championship or made it to the Final Four. And seeing those names of, Lobo and Sales, Bird, and all those names that you see across the little wall of honor basically that they have at Gamble, it's, like I said, it's intimidating if you're a visiting player, but also for me it was, mesmerizing going back to seeing, back to UConn after being away from the university for 11 years and being there this past, before the season started, seeing all those names, of course. But again, Crystal, obviously, Shorty, said it best about, between Taurasi and Moore and all those names, as we said. But I guess, Crystal, where do these current day seniors of Tuck, Jefferson, and Stewart, I guess, rank amongst those, legendary UConn Husky players of the past?
They'll probably be in like the top 50 or like the top 20. I don't know if they'll be like, I mean, yeah, I don't know if they'll be like way up there, but I mean, I think they're going to be talked about because of, I mean, they just won 4 straight titles, and that, that's never really been done before. So I think they're going to be talked about in Husky history, but I don't know if I would say they're up there with like the Dana Taurasis and the Sue Birds and the Lobos just yet.
Eric, what do you think? As you were there to witness this, of course, at Banker's Life, what do you think about where do these current 3 Husky seniors rank amongst the UConn legends of the past? What do you think and why?
I think Shorty brought up an interesting point because, wait, am I on? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Shorty brought up an interesting point because when you think about like Maya Moore, for instance, that wasn't really that long ago. So, in my opinion, it's not really a matter of which UConn era is the most dominant or which is the greatest. It's just a matter of how long UConn has been able to sustain such greatness. Because even, Dana Taurasi, that was what, like 15 years ago, Sue Bird 15 years ago, something like that. Still not really that long ago, considering the history that women's college basketball has. Not the WNBA, but NCAA women's. So it's kind of how do I put this? Comparing a senior class to another senior class from the same college, it's still essentially been the same system. It's still been Geno coaching, Geno recruiting. UConn is still UConn. They still have been doing what they've been doing for so long that I'm not really sure it's fair to compare, Stewart to Taurasi or Moore to Jefferson or Charles to Tucker, whatever have you. But I get what you're asking, but I don't really think it's a very fair comparison because they've been dominant for so long, they've been at this same stage for so long that you can make the argument, that people say, well, Stewart, she's the greatest ever because she won four titles. That's never been done before. Well, Jefferson just won her fourth title tonight too. Tuck just won her fourth title tonight too. So it's like it's really tough to draw like a boundary for me. Basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, Eric, I think we'd all agree that obviously, it's tough to kind of, and I think sometimes we kind of blow these things out of proportion a little bit about comparing, who the greatest ever is among sports. By the way, guys, a pretty interesting stat to know in regards to the upcoming draft on next Thursday. UConn is actually second behind Tennessee for most WNBA draft picks by school. It goes Tennessee with 36 draft picks, 2 number 1 overall picks. UConn is second with 30, with 4 number 1 overall picks, followed by Stanford with 24 and 2 number 1 overall picks. Then Georgia with 20, and then UNC and Duke tied with 19 with 1 number 1 pick overall, and also another good number to know as well. There are currently, as of today with this presser put out by the WNBA.com's beat writers, there are currently 14 different UConn players in some capacity on a WNBA roster, followed by 8 Duke players, 7 players from Tennessee and Rutgers, 6 from UNC, 5 from Maryland, Notre Dame, and Stanford, 4 players from LSU, Penn State, Texas A&M, and 3 players from Baylor, Cal Berkeley, and Minnesota are also on that list as well. But again, folks, the the women's basketball news to know, of course, UConn, excuse me, over Syracuse tonight, 82-51. This evening. Again, folks, sorry about that. Still trying to get over the illness right now, of course. So, Shorty, of course, that brings me to a point here before I do start coughing up my lungs again pretty soon is, again, Morgan Tuck right now still on the fence about declaring for the draft. We've heard both, more so unconfirmed reports about her possibly going for the draft. Of course, she has that 5th year of eligibility. Shorty, with her having won again for the 4th time in a row, what is her best option right now? Did she go back and fulfill that final year of eligibility, or does she perhaps go pro? What do you think and why?
I think that she will choose to ultimately go pro. I mean, it makes sense for her right now, especially, with her having her injury woes, she will never know, if she may, injure herself again in her 5th year or whatever the case may be. So I think she'll ultimately declare for the draft. And, I agree with her when she was asked the question tonight and she didn't want to respond because, in my opinion, tonight was all about UConn and them celebrating, their national title. And, draft talk, it just wasn't the place for that, right then and there. So she was right to not say anything, just let the UConn as a team enjoy their national title win, and then you can discuss anything beyond the program, the day after.
And KT, Shorty brought up a great point, though, about Morgan Tuck being, not making this about me, but about we and what we, not me, but what we just did, of course, making history, the four straight title, 11th in school history. But again, and also KT, Shorty brought up as well, again, about, there is the possibility, though, again, with that 5th year that, that you could still get injured, though, if you play your 5th year. And, of course, Candace Parker as well told me in our interview 2 years ago that she had 1 extra year because, of course, she medically redshirted her freshman year because of a shoulder problem she had in high school, plus her knee was bothering her. But I guess, Crystal, in your mind, what is Morgan Tuck's best option right now as she kind of thinks things over going towards draft day next Thursday?
I agree with Shorty. I mean, I think she should declare. I don't think there's much left for her to really do at UConn. And plus, Shorty, Shorty was the only one who said it. I can't remember who was announcing the game, but they also said if you're Tuck, you might as well leave. I mean, you don't want to risk injuries, and you don't want to risk, especially with her injuries, and you just, you don't only have so much longevity when it comes to playing the sport anyway. So I think she should just, take that just try to go pro. I mean, she'll make it. She's a really good player, so I think she should declare. But who are we to know what she really wants to do?
Again, Eric, the thing I love best about, perhaps all women's basketball players or hockey players in my case as well is, they always say we during a post-game interview. You very seldom hear other athletes say, we played a great game. It's all about me or I and myself, not about we, us, and ourselves. We hear that, quite frequently in women's basketball or in other sports sometimes where they, make it a full team effort. But again, Eric, with you being there, of course, like we said, but also with you hearing Morgan Tuck again, again saying it's secret, but again, this was a case like Crystal and Troy said though about making this about us, not me. So I think what's your final takeaway though about what her plans might be in a couple of days and weeks, perhaps?
Yeah, I think that might have been an inappropriate question for the time, but she handled it pretty well though. Yeah, I agree. I think she needs to declare for the draft for reasons already stated. When she I say, first of all, she's got nothing left to prove at the college level. I mean, 4 titles, that's you can't do any better than that, unless she wants to go for 5. But again, you're risking with a player who's had like chronic knee problems. She needs to start getting paid. Not saying that the WNBA is like the NBA where you can leave after 1 year of college and get a multi-million-dollar contract right off the bat. Unfortunately, the women do not have that luxury, but it's still something. She needs to declare for the draft, in my opinion, because once again, she's got nothing left to prove, and she needs to start getting paid.
So again, folks, we'll now get to the draft now, of course, guys. Again, the 2016 WNBA draft next Thursday night at 4 o'clock Pacific on ESPN. Excuse me, folks. My goodness gracious. Again, will be held on ESPN coming up next week. Of course, will be split across ESPN2 and ESPNU over the next couple of days next Thursday. So, Shorty, obviously, as you look at the big three as well, obviously, you're going to probably, we're going to have Stewart going number 1 to Seattle. Then after that, perhaps, 2 and 3 right now could very well be Tuck or Jefferson going somewhere. So, Shorty, as we kind of look things when we get ready for the draft, let's get your overall take, though, on who you think the top 5 picks will be for round 1 next Thursday. Who do you think they'll be and why?
Quickly looking at the draft. Okay, so the top 5 picks. So I got Brianna Stewart, of course, number 1 to Seattle. I'm going to go with my Mariah Jefferson at number 2 to San Antonio. They'll definitely need a guard with the injury to Danielle Robinson. And then at number 3, I will have Morgan Tuck because the Sun won't be able to help themselves, and they will have to draft another Connecticut player. So that's Tuck at 3. At 4 will be interesting. I can see at number 4. I'm just going to say number 4 could either be Banham or Williams out of USF, either one of those players. At number 5, Ariel Powers. So that will be my top 5.
All right, Crystal. So you heard Shorty give her 5. How about you?
I don't have any specific order, but my 5 are Brianna Stewart. If Morgan Tuck declares, Morgan Tuck. Mo Jefferson, Courtney Williams, Tiffany Mitchell, and I think I'm missing one. I think I have one more, right? Was that 4? Mm-hmm. And 5 probably be Naya as well. But like I said, that's in no specific order. It's just who I think would probably be the first 5 drafted.
All right, Eric. So you heard Shorty and Crystal, so we know that Stewart's going to go 1. But what about 2, 3, 4, and 5 for you, buddy?
Well, just to kind of how do I say this? I've been doing a mock draft. I've been keeping a mock draft updated just for fun. It's on my Twitter profile. It's my pinned tweet. So if you want to check it out, you can go ahead. If you don't, that's fine too, because it probably sucks. But Brandon Stewart number 1, obviously. Mariah Jefferson to San Antonio at number 2. I mean, Connecticut's son, it doesn't really matter what they do because they're both 3 and 4. So people are going to be saying, oh, well, UConn can go 1, 2, 3. Well, I mean, like, Tuck can go 3 or 4. It won't matter because they'll be on the same team. But, yeah, so Morgan Tuck is going to go to Connecticut, I think, as well as Courtney Williams from South Florida. I think that would be a wise decision. And then at number 5, I think Ariel Powers is a good fit for Dallas. I said Dallas, not Tulsa, Corey.
Yes,
see? All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. I think she's a good fit for them because because of her versatility, and they're probably the thinnest on the wing. So I think she'd be a good fit for them, both in 2016 and moving forward. So those are my top 5.
And I'm sure Corey, if he was in the chat box, would probably give us the either the praise hands emoji or the clapping hands emoji. So Eric, he probably is going to wipe his brow and say thank you for getting it right about saying Dallas and not Tulsa, of course. Shorty, though, I want to get to a Shorty, I do, though, want to get to a point, though, as we said, of course, guys, the big news yesterday, of course, was Ariel Powers declaring for the draft. But, of course, Shorty, this is, like we said, though, this is the 3rd player in about a 2 year span that we've seen, leave school early, again, leaving a year of eligibility, but leaving a year of eligibility on the table to go and play pro ball, of course. We had Jewel Lloyd and Amanda Zowie B do it last season. Shorty, obviously, we know that I kind of freaked out and panicked about, the possible bad trend about players starting to sit out like we saw last year with Diana Taurasi and Penny Taylor and Candace Parker. But I guess, Shorty, would this be another trend that perhaps starts to happen too, is seeing more and more college juniors leaving behind one more year, leaving before their senior year to go play pro basketball for the WNBA? Do you think we'll start seeing that trend more and more? Or what are your thoughts on seeing this trend now as we're seeing, we're seeing 2 different trends. We've seen the bad trend, of course, of star players sitting out, but also the good trend now of seeing more up-and-coming talent leaving school early to play pro ball now.
It's in the 2nd year right now of that trend, so it's still a little bit too early. But I would say that I would not be surprised to see a trend like this continually to happen because, I mean, there's just a lot of things that go into, these players' decision. Some want to leave, a year earlier to, in need of, cash to help their families or whatever the case may be, or if they're just ready for the pro experience already, they have turned that age 22 because that's all you need to enter the draft. So there's a lot of factors, and I think this has given those players more choice and more freedom to, make that decision, to whether declare a year early or not. So I think it's a little bit early, but so far it's in the 2nd year of that trend.
And Crystal, that was kind of like me when I got my broadcasting degree in the mail back in October last year of, it's like, finally I can call myself a professional finally. And, now here I am doing public address announcing for, the Anaheim Ducks, AAA hockey team of the American Hockey League in San Diego, which has been a lifelong goal, of course. But I guess, Crystal, obviously, I didn't have my eyes set on that job. I was more concerned about keeping my college job. But, of course, you kind of want to go and, explore the professional, the professional side of anything, whether it's pro sports or the pro work field for whatever it may be. But I guess, Crystal, your overall take, though, again, about seeing, a new trend in the WNBA, which is, college juniors leaving behind 1 year of college eligibility to go and play pro basketball.
I do agree with Shorty. I think it is early. I mean, we have seen it for the past couple of years. I mean, if they feel they're ready and they're 22 and they're at that, I think it's like you have to be out of high school for 3 years, I believe. If they're out of high school for that amount of time and they're that age, and why not go for it? If you feel like you're up for the challenge, I just say, why not? But I think we're going to see quite a few more. I don't know if I'd say it's a trend just yet, but I mean, it is a new day and age in basketball, so I wouldn't be surprised.
And Eric, as much Eric as you have, really talked about and how much you have admired Ariel Powers' game, obviously, she feels her game is, to the point now where she can say, hey, look, I know I have 1 year left of eligibility, but look, I'm going to go and try and see if I can hang with the big dogs up in the WNBA and, really test my skills and see where I stand right now. So I'm, yes, I'm going to leave behind 1 year at Michigan State, but I get to play against some of the, the greatest players and greatest talent in the women's basketball world in the WNBA. So I guess, Eric, do you expect to see this trend continue going in the future where we will see more and more college juniors leaving school early to go play pro WNBA basketball?
Boy, whenever we talk about this, I'm always very against calling this a trend because I thought that last year was kind of an outlier, kind of an anomaly, if you will, with both Jewel Lloyd and Amanda Zawi B declaring early. But maybe not. Maybe it is going to be a new trend. We still have to see. It's only been 2 seasons. What I will say is that Ariel Powers, she's a very confident player. She's a very hard worker. She said it. She said it herself. My dream is to play in the WNBA, and if she can accomplish that earlier, then all more power to her. But I think
no pun intended.
Not just, no pun intended. No, I'm not that witty. I think we just have to give it 1 more year to call it really a trend. And just because like one junior declares early every season doesn't mean it make it like an automatic rule now that every junior is going to declare. Every junior who is eligible is going to declare. Although, like KT said, it's a new era in the WNBA, and if these players are feeling confident, they're feeling like the league is in a stable condition, that they can make money coming out of college, then maybe so. Maybe it will be a new trend. We'll see.
So again, folks, sort of deliberating about perhaps a new possible trend, perhaps. We don't want to speculate too much, but again, Ariel Powers, of course, yesterday declaring for the draft, and of course, leaving behind 1 year of eligibility to play basketball for Michigan State. So, Eric, you were actually you were in attendance tonight at Bankers Life Fieldhouse, home of the Indiana Fever, of course, for tonight's title game. Eric, we're going to go to you for, just for a few minutes here and just get you, kind of pick your brain. Eric, first and foremost, buddy, give us the overall, your overall take on the experience that you had at the Fieldhouse tonight, in regards to, I guess, the magnitude of the game obviously being a title game, but of course, Eric, how about your overall thoughts on, going to the title game, of course, and, seeing, all the crowd there, but of course, I guess, kind of describe the atmosphere for the game tonight at the Fieldhouse if you can do so.
The atmosphere, towards the beginning of the game, I thought it was a little quiet actually, but as the game picked up, obviously, UConn faithful were out in force, man. Syracuse had a nice cheering section for themselves, but I would say at least 70% of the crowd was pro UConn. Deservedly so. It's such a great basketball program, so obviously they're going to have a large following wherever they are. I just felt super privileged to be there, because I was going to be witnessing basketball history either way, because either UConn's going to get an unprecedented 4th straight title, or Syracuse is going to pull off the biggest upset ever. And obviously, it happened to be the former, but it just happened. It just had this. It had this VIP sort of atmosphere, if I can put it that way, because there were a lot of big names in attendance too. I know you probably saw Super was there. A lot of UConn greats. Super, Tina Charles, Asia Jones were all there. We saw Laisha Clarendon from the Indiana Fever. She was there. She was hosting her own events. Lots of big WNBA names. They had a little coach's corner with Steph White and Andy Landers along the sideline there. So it was just, it was the biggest game of the season, and it definitely felt that way.
And Eric, as much as, people have ripped the WNBA for not having any of their ads shown during the title game or the Final Four at all during the March Madness tournament, though, But I think, Eric, though, in your mind, obviously with no type of advertisements done by the league. I did hear, though, that the Mystics had a little kiosk set up where people could take photos with the new Mystics jerseys for the 20th season of the WNBA. But I guess, Eric, though, do you think it was more important, though, for the Final Four community in Indianapolis to have all those, former UConn standouts, but current WNBA players on hand at Bankers Life Fieldhouse, though, to kind of, I guess, in a way kind of show that they were, that they cared about the title game, but also in a way kind of do their own personal advertising for this upcoming season over the summer?
Oh, absolutely. I'm not sure if that was the thought process behind it, because I think a lot of these, I'm guessing a lot of these players, wanted to go anyway because they had a sneaking suspicion that UConn would be coming away with their fourth straight title and they wanted to be in attendance for it. But either way, it was a very nice gesture for Charles and so on for them to be in attendance and show their support for their alma mater. As Gino said, he was in a press conference. I don't know if he had he said before the title game he was all players all his fourth grade, and he was just beside himself because he's just had the opportunity to go to an amazing player, a basketball legend. And yeah, it was a real privilege for him. And to have them on hand as this latest wave of greatness, reached their four straight titles, it says you don't need a special advertising program to kind of get the message across, is what I'm trying to say. When you have Brianna Stewart and Mo Jeff and Morgan Tuck up on that stage, and you've got Sue Bird standing right behind them, Gino's there, he's been a constant for the UConn program. That says it all. A basketball fan will look at that and say, this is a pretty freaking good program. All right? We realize that UConn represents dominant women's basketball, and are the farm system, the NBA farm system. So, yeah, I don't think there needed to be marketing behind that. Just the names and the fact that they were there speaks for itself.
So, Shorty, of course, Indianapolis hosts the Final Four this year, both the national semifinals and the title game this year. So, Shorties, we've seen the women's committee has kind of done their best to keep the games either in smaller arenas or, in this case today, WNBA venues. So I guess, Shorty, if they do in fact keep it in a WNBA venue for next season, where would you like to see the Final Four for women's college basketball hosted next season, and why?
Well, they are going to be in Dallas, and I think Dallas would be a good spot. The now Dallas Wings has moved there, so I think it'd be good to give it a shot. But ultimately, for the committee, I hope they continue to host the the semis and the national title games, and not just smaller venues, but like women's basketball towns. Cities and in places like that that will be welcoming to the women's game, because you definitely don't just want to put it anywhere where you might not get the turnout in the attendance, because the attendees there don't care to see women's basketball. So just like I said, for the committee, they're going to want to continue to put it in towns that are accepting of women's, of the women's game. So Indiana was definitely, Indianapolis was definitely a good fit. I think Dallas, where they're going to have it next year, is definitely a good choice. And also, I'd like to see it in Seattle as well, which is one of the biggest women's basketball, states in the nation. So they'll definitely be good choices in the future.
And Crystal, I think so now. So obviously, okay, so it's going to be in Dallas next year. It might be played at the American Airlines Center, home of the Mavericks and Dallas Stars of the NHL for next season. But I guess, Crystal, are you in favor, though, of the committee putting the Final Four in current or former WNBA cities, or in this case, as Shorty said, though, very good women's basketball cities, though, as well. What do you think and why going forward for the future?
I think that is a good idea. I mean, you sell more tickets that way. You get more fans that way. I don't think it makes sense to put it in a place that would not, put it in an area that doesn't respect women's basketball. I don't think that'd be a good idea because then your ticket sales would just plummet. So I think having it in Indy was a good idea. I think having it in Dallas would be a good idea. So I think putting them in places like that would be a really good idea. I think it'd be good for the sport.
So, Eric, before we get to the question about this, can you give us your overall thoughts on the crowd tonight for the title game at Bankers Life Fieldhouse?
The crowd was terrific, man. It was really well packed. I wouldn't say it wasn't a sellout crowd, but there were still plenty of. There were a lot of fans in attendance who were rooting for the team that had already been eliminated. There were some Oregon State fans sitting in front of us. There were some Washington fans. There were some fans of some other teams. Some Tennessee fans there. So it wasn't just a UConn versus a Syracuse crowd. It was in general. And I thought that.
So, Eric, I guess get back to the point, though. I guess would you like to see the Final Four for women's basketball played in current or former WNBA cities? Or also, really good women's basketball fan bases in certain cities. What do you think and why?
I would like it to be held in Chicago, so I don't have to drive 3.5 hours. I'm definitely Crystal on this. Find a good location for it because actually critical. And although, if no matter where it is, also he's going to have an unfair hard advantage. So Connecticut. You're not going to be able to have it anywhere near Tennessee, or I don't know if you have it in Dallas, they're going to have a hard advantage. You can't please everybody all the time, but I'm definitely in favor of having a place like Seattle or maybe Sacramento, because the Monarchs people still trying to get them back, so maybe some action in Sacramento for the women's basketball player.
I like that idea at the new Golden One Credit Union Arena where the Kings will be playing next season. And also, Eric, by the way, how about that incredibly awesome-looking playing floor with all the bricks inside the key for a tribute to all the bricks that make up all the auditoriums for basketball in the Indianapolis area. I thought that was great by the committee this year for that floor design. But what do you think?
For me, it was a little bit distracting. It looked a little busy for me, but it was a nice gesture. I think it looked better in person than it does on TV because on TV they have the. I think that's pretty necessary. But yeah, it was a pretty nice gesture. I can get where they're coming from that. So that's pretty cool, I guess.
I thought it was a pretty good touch. I mean, they had the really nice beach or the sunburst on the court when they were in Tampa Bay last season. So I thought that was a pretty cool gesture going forward. So, Shorty, we're going to get to a WNBA story, but of course, guys, this was a couple of weeks ago or a couple of days ago. But of course, Shorty, every team will be having a sort of a color scheme set of new uniforms coming to fruition courtesy of Adidas for the special 20th season of the WNBA. All 12 teams will have color, pretty much, color-coded uniforms for the season, and also as well, guys and folks out there as well. The original three teams, LA, Phoenix, and New York, will all have special jersey patches on the front of their uniforms for the 20th season, while everyone else will have a special WNBA 20th anniversary logo on their back. And also each team will have a very small decals, as you see in the NBA. If you've won a championship, you'll have a very small championship trophy case basically on the back of your uniform on the neckline. So, Shorty, obviously, influence taken from the NBA, of course, with the championships won on the back of the uniforms. But also, Shorty, I love seeing how all three teams, the Liberty, Mercury, and Sparks, will be able to have that 20th anniversary patch for their official 20th season on their jersey fronts, of course, and everyone having color-coded uniforms this season, which I think is obviously a little bit different, seeing colors every game, whether it's Phoenix wearing purple on the road or even purple at home, and that was their away jersey last season. So obviously, Shorty, trying to mix it up a little bit, but I guess your thoughts about the colors of the rainbow that you'll see for the WNBA fashion for the 20th season this year.
Yeah, for those, 3 set teams, I do like the 20th patch on the jerseys. I think it's a really nice look there. But as far as, the colors for certain teams overall, I mean, I'd say LA and San Antonio is pretty much the same. They kept their same colorway, so not much of a difference there. I'll be honest, my least favorite jerseys is probably the New York Liberties jerseys. I mean, I don't like their home or away jerseys too much. Aqua or teal, whatever. I don't know. It sort of look like Easter colors to me, so not really feeling it. I really do like the Atlanta Dreams and Washington Mystics jerseys overall. Even though they're pretty much the same, I still like the color patterns that they did with that. But just overall, I mean, I could just say, I'm feeling it overall because, they're just trying to do something different, something to, add to the 20th season to commemorate it. So I like the idea overall, even though I may not like every jersey per se, but I like the idea overall.
And Crystal, for someone that has watched baseball for his whole life, I grow tired of seeing the traditional home white versus gray road team for baseball, or in my case, doing AHL hockey. It's always home white for San Diego and a color jersey for the away team. So like tomorrow night, it'll be white for San Diego, navy blue for Bakersfield tomorrow night. And I kind of grow tired of seeing that because I like seeing something different, like alternate jerseys, or in this case, color versus color. And like I said as well, I admire the patches that the Liberty, Sparks, and Mercury get to have for their 20th season. But I guess, Crystal, what are your thoughts, though, on the new WNBA colors of the rainbow for the historic 20th season?
I wish they would have given LA like a different color because they pretty much just use their same jerseys. I would have loved to see probably like a black jersey or like an all white jersey or something like that. I mean, I'm glad that they are doing little color splash jerseys because that's cool. Like, I think we've been saying for the longest that WNBA players, or not players, but the team should be using alternate jerseys, and I would love to see like a cool alternate jersey. But I don't know, like the LA, I think they kind of just were like, oh, okay, we're just going to use these colors, and I think they could have just been a little bit more creative. But I do think it's cool that they are going down the path of having different jerseys, so hopefully this means alternate jerseys in the future.
And Eric, I think it's good that the Sky brought back the jersey that had Chicago on the front, because sometimes for me it gets redundant seeing, having the Angels of Anaheim having Angels on all their jerseys, home, road, or away, where, normally you have your, nickname on your home jersey and your geographical location on your away jersey. So, and of course, Eric, the Sky, I believe, are doing the white and yellow or the yellow for the away this year. But I guess, Eric, though, obviously something new, but what do you think, though, about the new WNBA rainbow, pretty much the colors of the rainbow for the 20th season?
I like the idea. I don't like confusion, and here's what I mean by that. I'm not sure. Are they keeping the home whites teams? Are these alternate uniforms?
It looks like Chicago's doing blue at home and yellow on the road. It looked like what I saw.
That's the thing. I don't like this for a couple of reasons. One, because I thought our home whites were pretty sharp. That's just my opinion, because I like blue and the white together. Also, because alternates, like, I had a hard time using what alternate to use. That the Minnesota alternate, I think, looks pretty gross, honestly, to be honest. So I think what they should have done is cut the home whites for everybody, or the home either purple or whatever, and use these as a because it's really an alternate jersey. It's the second one. I mean, because home jersey and away jersey. There's no third alternate jersey. I do like the idea of making the team more colorful. If I could probably say that a little better, but just bring a little more variety to the options. Guy fan wants a yellow jersey, get a yellow jersey. So on and so forth. And
Yeah, we'll see what we do. But again, folks, again, the WNBA again going to a excuse me, pretty much a all color for everyone's jerseys this year. Of course, LA and San Antonio are keeping their existing designs from last season, with the Sparks doing yellow home or gold home and purple away jerseys, with the Stars still doing their silver home and road black uniforms, and of course everyone else will be doing other colors as well, including everyone else will have a color-coded home and away jersey for next season. Now, folks, to get back to tomorrow, again, for next Thursday. So, again, folks, next Thursday, of course, is the 2016 WNBA Draft. Again, folks, we are still contemplating on a live broadcast of the draft, pretty much of a little draft viewing party with all of us in it coming up next Thursday. But again, following round 3 and following the draft next Thursday, come back here, folks, at 9:30 p.m. next Thursday for a full recap of the draft to get ready for the 2016 season as well going forward. So, again, that is next Thursday. Again, the draft can be seen live as well, again, once more, on ESPN2 for round 1 and ESPNU for rounds 2 and 3. And also, as well, you can catch us at 9:30 p.m. following the draft, of course, coming up at 9:30 next Thursday night, April 14th, back here on the WNBA 365 network. Shorty, as we get set to wrap up, again, of course, this marks the end of another great 2015-2016 college basketball season and a tournament I think that we will not forget for quite some time, of course, of how nobody was safe. You know, we had 3 of the 4 number 1 seeds lose on their way to the Final Four, and also how historic this was, well, for the UConn program. Of course, their 4th straight title and their 11th in school history. Shorty, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of things, of course, during the season between scandals at universities and, all this and that we talked about. But also, guys, I do want to bring up one quick point, though, before we do get out of here for the night. Shorty, as well, with the Final Four as well, guys, Shorty, in your mind, how awesome was, though, that the tournament committee played the Division III and Division II title games, leading up to the D1 title game this evening, Shorty. What are your thoughts on that really, classy gesture by the tournament, by the committee to, allow the lower 2 divisions to play their play their title game, on the same floor as it would be for the for the game this evening. I thought that was a really cool thing that the NCAA did. What do you think, though, and why?
I definitely think it was really good on their part, to do that. And I'm just going to be honest, it definitely sounds like a more cost-cutting, much more cost-cutting deal to, cut costs, to not have other divisions play elsewhere, because then that's more money for the NCAA to spend. So to, just put all the divisions play at the same avenue and things like that is definitely cost cutting for them, and it all made sense.
Crystal, obviously, I'm sure that, those 2 games didn't draw as much as it may have drawn today attendance-wise. But again, Crystal, I thought it was a very good, kind gesture that the NCAA gave those, those four schools playing, those 2 games, for the, for their, their championships, of course, D2 and D3, of course. And, seeing that, I thought was, really something special that, again, that they allowed those 2 divisions to play their title games on the same floor in the same building as, as the kids at D1 will be able to do. Crystal, what do you think about seeing that gesture from the NCAA, though, over the weekend?
I agree with Shorty. I think that was a cost-cutting thing. I mean, it did help those schools because I think it's one of those things where if you had a ticket, you could kind of just stay and watch the games or whatever that were going on. But I agree with Shorty. I think they just did that to cut costs and keep everything pretty cheap for them, and so they wouldn't have to keep spending money to go to a whole bunch of places. But, I mean, I think it kind of worked out in their benefit. But I think mostly it was just so they wouldn't spend so much money.
And Eric, and obviously, okay, so we've heard cost cutting, but I think, though, to allow these student athletes, that either did not get scholarship offers or didn't make their D1 program and they went elsewhere, I think that was a very fair treatment to allow those kids, on the D2 and D3 stage to play their games and feel like they were playing D1 hoops, and of course playing on the same floor, as it would be for tonight's game. I thought was something really, really special to see and really awesome that they did that. Eric, what do you think though about this and why?
Pretty cool. Yeah, rare to see them. A lot of people who were thought it was a really cool gesture.
Right, so again, everyone, so it looks like everyone's on board about that, but I thought that was really eye-catching, really something cool to see. But again, Shorty, we'll get back on track though. Shorty, how about your overall final take though on the 2015-16 NCAA women's basketball season for this year? Obviously, like we said, we had upsets in the tournament left and right, and we had upsets during the course of the season. And again, Shorty, history made by UConn this evening. How about your final thoughts as we put a wrap on our final college show of the year?
I mean, I think it was a great NCAA season overall. I mean, of course, we all knew from the start of the season that UConn was going to take it all. But beyond that, there's just so many interesting things to happen. As it was already stated, had three teams who were not number one seeds to make the Final Four. So that was special in itself. And again, as I previously stated, one of the storylines that was pretty much ignored by the national media because everything was UConn, and they ignored those other three storylines, in my opinion. But it was great seeing three new teams in the tournament, but in the Final Four, of course. But as we all know, UConn made history, winning 4 in a row, their 11th straight, and I'll definitely be looking forward to next season, because UConn will still be good, but with their three graduating seniors leaving this year, I'm not sure that they will be as dominant as they were this season. So it's going to be interesting to see if their juniors and sophomores can still ride that train to victory, or will new blood finally come in and bring in what everyone is waiting for, which is a new national champion.
So, Crystal, you heard from Shorty right there again. Like I said, we had upsets across the wire in the tournament. We had, obviously, history being made tonight. But I guess, Crystal, how do you put a wrap on the 2015-16 NCAA women's basketball season?
It was a really exciting season to watch. It might have been one of the best seasons in women's college basketball that I've seen, just because of the different storylines and all the different teams that made it. And I'm just like Shorty. I'm interested to see what happens next year, not just with UConn, but to see who these teams recruit, how well the recruiting comes to hand, who will make it to the Final Four next year, and it's just going to be exciting. It's going to be a long off season for those teams who who didn't make it, or even Syracuse, but it'll be worth it in the end, I believe.
Eric, I saw a tweet from my homegirl Kelsey Plum out of UW who said, told the reporter that, quote, I need a lot of time off after this deep run into the postseason. And obviously, they pulled off, upsets left and right. They did a lot of good things. They were one of the teams that had a lot of, things go their way in the tournament. Of course, we had a lot of great things during the regular season. And ultimately, it culminates with you seeing UConn winning tonight. Eric, what are your final thoughts though, on the 2015-16 women's basketball college season?
It was a great ride. I had a lot of teams from conferences, a lot of surprising team, or rising to power.
Yeah, I'd say, guys, at the D1 level, for me, of course, the storylines, of course, was seeing UT, Tennessee, scuffling through a rough season, but ultimately, of course, that was one. But the other one, of course, was seeing UConn as well. Doing what they did, of course, with their, improbable run to 75 straight wins now, and, of course, going unbeaten for the entire regular season through the conference tournament and ultimately through the final and ultimately through March Madness. And for me personally, on the D2 level, of course, my 12th year, of course, covering women's basketball, but, of course, my first year, but also, being able to be around all these great players at Point Loma Nazarene University and being around a legendary head coach in Bill Westphal, who, of course, retired after the season ended this year. That was really special for me to be courtside and calling all these games for these, really talented athletes, of course, that, go and play D2, and I'll tell you what, those games are really fun, and I really look forward to doing it again next season. With that, though, folks, up until Thursday night, we'll be off tomorrow as I go and hopefully clinch a playoff berth for the American Hockey League playoffs tomorrow this year. We're off tomorrow. We'll be back with you folks on Thursday, getting ready for draft day next week and more WNBA news. Until then, folks, this is Cal McClurg along with Tanisha Stewart, Crystal Thomas, and on the road back to Illinois from the Final Four in Indianapolis. Eric Nemchok signing off. Until then, folks, have a great night. We'll see you back here on Thursday, back here on WNBA 365. Until then, folks, good night. See you back here on Thursday. Good night, and bye-bye.